Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to be talking about a topic that's super important, and that's how you can manage diabetes with your diet and by eating a more healthy plant-based diet filled with all of these whole plant foods, things like beans and lentils and whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables, nuts, herbs, spices. This kind of eating style can help you manage diabetes. More and more research has been showing that this kind of eating style not only could help you prevent diabetes, but it can help you manage it once you have it. So I'm really excited to have my guest with me today. She's a friend and colleague, Toby Amidor. She's a best-selling author. She's a registered dietitian, and she's a leading dietitian in the media. You can see her articles and blogs all over the place, and she's written several books. So welcome, Toby. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So good to have you. And we're going to be talking a lot about Toby's latest book, which is the Create Your Plate Diabetes Cookbook. So Toby's going to be giving us a lot of her ideas, her expert nutrition tips on managing diabetes with eating more healthy plant foods that are also delicious. This is a delicious way to eat, right, Toby?
Oh yeah, there is no other way to eat. Everything has to be delicious, and that's the bottom line.
Exactly. So Toby, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the field of nutrition and what inspired you, to even write this book?
Sure. It's funny, when I was going to become a dietitian, my parents sat me down and was like, what are you going to do? Your mom goes to nutrition school. So I took a couple classes in college, and that's what I enjoyed doing. And I ended up majoring in clinical nutrition and dietetics. So I'm actually a clinical dietitian. And then when I started, I actually taught at a culinary school. I actually really liked media. So now I teach at Teachers College Columbia, and I write a lot. I write cookbooks. I speak a lot, and do a variety of things. And one of the things is in my family is diabetes. So my mom was pre-diabetic, and then through eating and weight loss, she's actually helped manage it and prevented it. And then a lot of my family who actually lives in Israel, they do have diabetes as well. So when I was approached by the American Diabetes Association to write this cookbook, I remember the times in the hospital when I was counseling clients, and it was just so confusing to explain to them, like the food groups and, counting your grams of carbs. And this plate method is just so much easier, that I was just glad to be able to write this cookbook. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the short story to how I got here.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit about this plate method so we can learn a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I'm trying to see if I have the cookbook because I can show you the picture. But basically, all you need is a plate. And usually you'll start with a 9-inch plate. But if somebody who needs a little more calories, maybe they're a teenager or they, exercise a lot or both, they might go a little bit larger. Someone with fewer calories might go on a smaller plate. But you have a plate. You're going to cut the plate in half, and that half will be low carb vegetables. So it could be like spinach, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, whichever vegetables you like that are low in carbs, as opposed to something like a potato, which is a starchy vegetable.
Uh-huh.
And then the other half, a quarter of it, you're going to put starches, and that could be the potato, or you could do whole grains, which of course is recommended too. You can do like a farro, a brown rice, and then the other portion will be a lean protein or a protein, and it could be a plant-based protein like beans or tofu, or you can do an animal lean protein like fish or chicken.
Mm-hmm. That's great. It makes it more visual for people, right? And it really
That
keeps the
exactly.
reasonable portions and it's easy to understand.
Yeah, then that's the point. And then, you might be asking, well, what about dairy? And so if you have dairy or soy or, to make sure you get that calcium and vitamin D, so they put that, the dairy and then a fruit, because you're like, hey, where's the fruit on the plate? You can count that for your starches. So you can,
Oh,
switch that out over there, because in reality, they have the same amount of around carbs in there. So that'll be your carbs for the
great.
meal.
That's really helpful. Well, I'm really excited about that book. I think it's going to be a great way that people can, you know, um, follow a healthy plant-based diet for managing diabetes, because we know it's so important, which really brings me to this idea of how important diet is for managing diabetes. And could you talk a little bit about that? You know, if people do keep their diabetes under control and eat healthfully, that can have huge ramifications in
Oh,
their
yeah.
life, right?
Oh, yeah. If you can keep it in check. I mean, one of the things we also know, and it's part of this book, is heart health. So somebody who has a person with diabetes has an increased chance of also having heart disease issues. And that just comes with the territory, unfortunately, of having diabetes. And so being able to, eat by that plate method just enables those risk factors to go down, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and then there are other issues with, the feelings at the end of your fingers and toes, and also
Mhm.
visual, with vision and all that. It helps. You can't say you'll never get it, but it helps,
Mhm.
help minimize those symptoms or prevent them from happening a little bit longer.
That's great. Yeah. So, what kinds of foods should people be piling on their plate when they're managing their diabetes? You talked a little bit about whole grains. Are there other
hmm
major food groups that they should be really trying to make sure they're getting on that plate?
Well, the beautiful thing is half the plate is vegetables, especially the low carb um, vegetables. And so, really, you do want to focus on getting, and you do want different colors because that gives you different nutrients, different vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients. And so, I think focusing on that part, whether it's fresh vegetables, whether it's canned, whether it's frozen, you can, choose whatever you have available, whatever's on sale, whatever you can afford at the time, have access to. And so that's really important. And so definitely focus on those vegetables. And then when it comes to the other side of the plate, you have to, see what you enjoy. Do you want one day a little bit of sweet potatoes? Remember, we talked about flavor. Do you
Yeah.
want maybe a little bit for your vegetable, a whole grain that you enjoy? Maybe you want some whole wheat pasta because, you haven't had some pasta in a bit. But again, it's only a quarter of the plate, so you're managing the portion sizes with that.
Hmm. So really loading up on all those beautiful veggies,
That's exactly it.
and then choosing the starchier food as what you're in the mood for, what makes you happy, and then that lean protein.
hmm
And then how do you make it all delicious? So what are some of your tips for packing on the flavor?
Well, a lot of it's funny because I'm writing another cookbook for the American Diabetes Association, and I found myself falling into those citrus flavors like lemon and lime specifically because they're very low in calories. I don't know why, but I just love. So I was like, wait, I have to stop using lemon and lime, but I just love like lime and cilantro. So like meshing those flavors with some herbs like mint and lemon, just are so delicious. So you have to go with, these flavors that are low in calories.
Mm-hmm.
For heart health, I just tested a recipe. I think this one was not plant-based, but it was for pork, but I wanted to put some butter on it. So even if on vegetables you want, but I minimized how much I put. I just did a little bit of a tablespoon, and that's okay once in a while if you want to do that. So you have to see what you enjoy, but then make some tweaks to how you're flavoring them to your liking.
Yeah, I love that. I'm in love with citrus too. I have
I love
uh,
citrus.
citrus trees in my garden, and I just can't go a day without squirting lemon juice on
I
something.
know. I even made one of my recipes. I made a grapefruit salsa. Just
Ooh.
so good.
Wow, I made an orange guacamole that was really with big chunks of oranges. It reminds me of
Oh,
avocado salsa sounds great. Yeah, that's really great, and it can help you reduce sodium, sugar, all sorts of things. These
yeah.
flavorings, right? Or even reduce the fat. All of those things.
Yeah, it adds that flavor, but you're not missing out on the sodium, the added sugar. I mean, you know, not even every American has that kind of issue. They take in too much sodium and they take in too much added sugar. So you do want to find some flavor components that everybody in your household can enjoy. And to tell you honestly, all the recipes in my cookbook, my kids all eat everything that I have in there. And they
Yeah.
don't, they never complain, oh, it doesn't have flavor, it doesn't have, because I make sure to flavor it in a way that is tasty.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. You can make things so delicious, and when you start out with these delicious vegetables and crunchy whole grains, and then you're adding that layer of seasonings, it's really hard to go wrong.
And I
But
like
what
to,
about,
oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Oh,
I
go
was like,
ahead.
another little trick that I do, especially with the whole grains, I'll start it even with aromatic vegetables. So you take a
Oh,
shallot or you take a leek or you take an onion and then you chop it. And then after I saute it in the pan with like a touch of olive oil, then I'll start to cook those grains in there. And
mm,
then it just gives it another layer of flavor.
that's so great. And a lot of food cultures do that. They layer in, like
Mhm.
Indian food, they layer in their aromatic vegetables and their spices. I love that. That's great. What about fat? How does fat fit on the healthy plate?
So you can have absolutely, you can have fat. So like, but you don't want a whole avocado. You want like a
Yes.
sliver of an avocado or nuts, which you can actually put like a nut butters can actually
Mhm.
count towards your protein too. So you would put that in your protein section of the plate. You can sprinkle things with seeds. I love sunflower seeds on salads.
Mhm.
So delicious. But again, I'm only doing like a tablespoon. I just want it for the crunch and that little added flavor.
Right.
My dad used to actually grow us some big sunflowers, and I'm in New York, so they're not
Mhm.
so easy. But he was able to do that, and my mom would take all the seeds and saute them up in the pan.
Oh,
So I'm
sounds
just
so
a
good.
sucker for sunflower seeds.
Yeah, I like that because you don't have to dump a whole cup on. Just a
No,
tablespoon is all you need for flavor, right?
that's exactly it. And something in the same thing with oil. Like you think you need so much oil in a, stir fry. I just actually developed a tofu stir fry is like also one thing that I've always eaten for
Mm-hmm.
many years, but you only need like 2 teaspoons, a tablespoon. You don't need much more.
Right, right.
And so that you have to remember, you don't need in a dressing a cup of oil. Oil is certainly healthy, but you just want a couple tablespoons in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. So, I wanted to also talk about the benefits of eating plant-based for diabetes.
Sure.
How do all of these foods that you're talking about, like these whole grains and these vegetables and the fruits, how do they help help you manage diabetes and help you avoid some of these complications?
Well, one of the big things that they have fiber, especially those whole grains. I mean, fruit and vegetables do as well. And once you have that fiber, it can help slow down the absorption of that blood sugar, which is what you want. You want it kind of like slow. And so that kind of minimizes the risk factors which happen because your blood has too much sugar in it at one time for a long period of time. So
Hmm.
that fiber certainly helps. Plus, you have also a lot of phytonutrients, which natural plant chemicals that are found in fruits and vegetables. And there's some of them, and we just don't know all about them. We know some of them. They actually can help with manage diabetes or prevent them, but help. It doesn't mean it'll do the trick on its own. So
Right.
that's why you do want a wide variety, and all the vitamins, minerals that they provide, they help keep your body healthy in general.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really great tip. And then they're also good for your heart too. Like you were mentioning
Yeah,
that you're at a higher risk of heart disease. So these are all
correct.
good things for that as well, right?
Absolutely. And all the fruits and vegetables, that potassium, which is important too for heart health. If you look
Yeah.
also for the dietary approaches to stop hypertension, when you look at the studies, it actually helped with the blood pressure when people had the potassium in the diet as well.
Mhm.
So you definitely
Mhm.
want fruits and vegetables for that purpose too.
Great. Yeah. So it's really important for people to be packing on all of those plant foods for all those benefits. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, that's great. So, one thing you hear more and more about people say that they can reverse their diabetes with like a plant-based diet. And what would you say about that? Is it possible to reverse diabetes once you have it with your eating style?
Well, there's two types of diabetes. If you're born with it, which is a type 1, there's no reversing it. So it's just something that you were born with in your body and you have to manage it for your entire life. If you have type 2 and it's just in the beginning stages of it and you're not really on medication, you will, the doctor usually recommends, and hopefully you're working with a doctor and registered dietitian, they'll recommend diet and exercise, among other things, to be the main way to help you in the beginning. And sometimes that's with like they might see a higher A1C, which shows how much your blood sugar is. But if you're really in the beginning stages, by managing the diet, and with exercise, you might be able to, but there's no promises because nobody knows. But you can certainly help manage those risk factors and lower your risk.
Mm-hmm.
I never like to promise anything. So, because,
Yeah,
you never know what someone's body or genetics is saying either.
yes. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah, but it's a definite win-win in terms of, your best odds approach to managing it
Yeah.
and reducing all of these other complications. So I think
And weight loss is really, with type 2, it usually comes about because of gained weight.
right.
And so just losing even minimum 5 to 10 pounds can help regulate that blood sugar. That's what happened to my mother. She was
Mhm.
gaining weight. It's in her genetics. She definitely lost weight, and it helped manage that. And her diabetes actually, didn't reappear. She was
Mhm.
lucky for that. She has some other heart issues. That's again genetic, but you never know. You do the best you can, and for that she's still, she's now approaching her 70s and she's still around and in good health.
That's great. Yeah, it's so powerful, what people can do with their eating style.
Hmm.
So I also wanted to ask you about some of your really important steps. If somebody was newly diagnosed with diabetes or prediabetes and they really want to take control of their health, what would be some of your like 3 important steps that they could do in terms of their eating style?
I was going to say, even before that, I would certainly ask for the assistance, because it's covered by insurance, of a registered dietitian. And they have registered dietitians who are certified diabetes educators. They're CDE, certified diabetes educators. So having a partner with you certainly helps. So I like, and they are educated, and they fit your eating style. And then on top of that, the book that I just wrote is really nice, especially if you just found out or know that you have diabetes, because it really helps minimize all the confusion about your eating style. And I also have several weeks of meal plans. And not only that, I show you various breakfasts, various lunches, dinners, snacks, even beverages. And so you get kind of the idea of how you should be eating without like counting numbers and being all stressed about that. So I really
Mhm.
do like this plate method, because it reduces the anxiety of being, newly diagnosed, or because I've counseled those individuals. I've counseled kids, teenagers, adults who just found out they had it, and it's very, very stressful. So
Yeah.
at least finding a simple way, and going to the American Diabetes Association website. Also, they really have great information there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is the American Diabetes Association's their Create Your Plate method that I interpreted into recipes. So together, those two are really nice in conjunction with one another.
Yeah. I'm going to be sharing that for everyone out there. I'm going to be sharing Toby's book information, her links, and also some of this information that she's shared with us on the American Diabetes Association. So check out the blog that goes along with this live chat, and you can get more of these details. So Toby, I wanted you to share with us just a few of your ideas for some healthy meals. Toby's
Now I'm
also
going to
going to
go get the book because I want to show you pictures.
Yes, and Toby's also going to be sharing one of her favorite recipes with us. So you'll have to check out the blog, and I'll
I was
share that
silly. I
recipe.
didn't bring it. I didn't bring it, but here's the book. So
Mm.
that's what it looks like. And when you open it, so I have plates and plates, and there's certainly some that are 100% vegan. There's a lot of vegetables and plants on there. And that's really what a diabetic diet is all about, is really just those low carb veggies, those whole grains, or starchy vegetables. Like, I love sweet potatoes. I'm on a sweet potato kick lately.
I love sweet potatoes too.
So here, like there's like a breakfast you could kind of see there. So it's avocado toast. Here, this one has turkey bacon, but you can as good as put some soy bacon if you want, if
Yes,
that's something that you
tempeh
want to
bacon.
also. Yeah. And then I have there some yogurt with some fruit in there. Again, you could do a plant-based if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at the plate. You can see
Uh-huh.
there's the bottom one over there. A lot of greens, a small amount of fish and whole grains. You can see most of it is plants.
Right, right. That's great. So tell us about the recipe you're going to be sharing with us.
So I do have some recipes from actually the cookbook on my website, but one of my like go-to recipes that I was telling you about. So my family's from Israel, so I've always grown up like eating Mediterranean style. So for me, I always have this chopped salad. It's very, very simple that I eat with everything. Even like hummus and eggs in the morning, I'll have like my chopped salad there with me because I eat vegetables for breakfast too. Everyone kind of thinks that's
Mhm.
weird, but I like need vegetables at breakfast. So I'll share just my really simple chopped salad. I'll even put times I'll put chickpeas in there, or even lentils in there, or sometimes I put pickles if I want a little bit of salt. And really, it's peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes. And then I just, like I told you, the lemon juice I'm obsessed with. And then like a whole lemon on there, a touch of olive oil, salt, pepper. And then if you want to, if you have fresh parsley, you can chop it and put it inside. That's it. It's so
That's so
easy.
good. Sounds very fresh but
And
satisfying too, right? All the fiber.
all the fiber, and you can eat it with anything you want. So
That would be good with
whatever.
like falafels or
Falafel, you
yeah.
can have it. Honestly, I eat it with everything.
Well, now I can't wait to try it. So I'll be sharing that recipe in the blog too, so you'll have to check that out. Do you have any other tips that you'd like to share? Any last tips on managing diabetes for the first time?
To tell you honestly, the reason I picked up this book as a project was I've counseled a lot of people with diabetes, and I can see the frustration in their faces when I would talk about some of the other methods in my early, like when I was 24, that's when I became a dietitian. And so when I saw how simple this method was, I couldn't even say no, because I knew how much it would change people's lives to make it easier,
Yeah.
especially when you are so frustrated with counting this and counting that. And so I really hope it can help some people, or a lot of people, manage,
Yeah.
diabetes in a more comfortable and delicious way.
Yeah. Healthy and delicious.
Yeah, that's how it should be. And the
I,
recipes are good for everybody. It's not just,
yes.
if you have diabetes or not.
That's so true because I love to say that what's good for you, for your diabetes is good for your heart, your brain, your blood pressure. It's all a match. Even reducing your risk of cancer. These all line up
Oh,
really
yeah.
nicely. So it's not like you have to eat a certain way. I mean, of course, as you were saying, there are a few things that you have to be more mindful of, like trying to have more of a weight loss goal. If because that can make a big impact, as you mentioned.
Yes,
But that's true for a lot of a lot of other conditions too. So
correct.
it's even
Correct.
good for the planet to be eating that way, right? It's
There
like
you go. There you go.
a
There you go.
win-win. Well, thank you so much, Toby. This has been great. Please check out the blog at sharonpalmer.com, where you'll find all of Toby's links, more about her book and her favorite recipe. So please be sure to check that out. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Toby, for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I always love all your stuff.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone. Remember to eat and live well.